When I look at all of our most successful clients, there is a level of passion meets determination meets relentless action. They have connection and authenticity, both to their ideal client and who they're serving, to their business and its unique blueprint. Do you feel like you hold yourself accountable to be in a space consistently of leadership for your company, of connection? And part of being connected is you have to tune out the noise. Some of the most successful people I know build the airplane while they're flying. Embodied CEOs don't chase trends. They pave the way. They lead from within, moved by purpose, unshaken by noise. When you are the source, you do not need permission. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you guys are having a great week so far. This is officially the week of Embodied Marketing Live. It is one of my favorite weeks of the year. I love in-person events, and I never thought I would say that. Like, if you would have asked me that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have been like, no, I'll never run a live event. But they are my absolute favorite because the level of transformation and connection and just progress that somebody can make in an in-person container over just a few days is always so amazing. And I also think one of my favorite parts is watching everybody come in a little bit guarded, a little bit, disconnected, maybe from themselves, maybe from the group, a little bit hesitant, and also coming in going, this is exactly what I need. Like, I need the answer to this question or this problem, and then leaving the event with walls down, connected to themselves, to the group, to the room, aligned, excited, and also getting exactly what they really needed, which is rarely the same thing as what someone thinks that they want. And that is my favorite, is watching that transformation and just like the connection. So Embodied Marketing Live, the next one will be in January. It'll be the end of January, and we do have those dates live on the site this week. So I will just mention that, embodiedmarketing.com/live. This is truly such an authentic event. You have to be there to fully understand it. I think that it might be one of the hardest things that I market because there's not this like single tangible result to the event because it's so custom to what you need in your business and personally. And every experience, the workshops are a little bit different. It's such a, I just flow these events in a way that I don't even know, it's not just me. Since I started hosting events, I realized like if I surrender in these experiences and like lean in and tune into the group, they're better. And that's what I do. Of course, I plan workshops and I have, standard marketing workshops and things we teach, but it's not your standard event where I'm like in a conference room with slides teaching at you. It's full on immersion experience, workshops where you're writing, we're doing groups, breakouts, you're getting feedback. Like, I'm not just teaching at you. So anyways, I'm very excited. My team is flying in, and that's always fun as well. Now I've got the office and the in-person team. It's going to be super awesome. Some of the in-person team gets to meet some remote team that's flying in. And it's funny because one thing about me is that two things. I really have like one focus at a time. I do like my normal, content and answering Slack and getting back to team members and things that are needed. But like I only have one project focus at a time. And for a while before like recording this, because this is the week before the event, my focus was the challenge. I was in the challenge and I was like full on, we redid a lot of the stuff that was the challenge. And so I'd have team members asking me about the event. And I'm like, literally, I'm not even thinking about it right now because I have to divert my focus and then I go deep and do deep work on the event. And also the other thing about me is that one of the reasons that this event is so magical is because it's not rigidly structured. There's not like a strict agenda that we adhere by, and there's no room for flow and for reading the room. And that stresses out people in operations and people who like to plan. And so I do go into the event with a plan and with a general schedule, but every single one I change things up. And nobody would know that I change things up. Like it could be the morning of, and we do a workshop and I realize people need something. And so I change up the afternoon and pull in this other workshop or like add these questions, I don't know. That's just part of the magic. And so my team this last week, which I did need to get them information. They're going to listen to this podcast. I'll give you guys that. But I was like, just trust me. You've not been to the event yet. And I'm telling you, it's all going to be good. And we don't have to overly like plan the day. So anyways, I'm in full on event mode now. Wrapped up those projects and I get to do deep work on the workshops and start to really tune into the attendees. Anyways, today's podcast episode, I wanted to talk about a few things that I think are critical and non-negotiables to success as an entrepreneur. And I was reflecting on, if you were to take, we have about 130 clients right now, which is wild. So grateful for that. And if you were to take our most successful clients and like put them on a panel and really look at what are the traits and what are the things that those successful entrepreneurs do, or you were to go into a room with successful entrepreneurs, one thing is you see common themes. You see similar traits in success. It does leave those clues. There's that saying, success leaves clues. And so I was thinking about this in terms of how to explain some of those things in a way that you maybe haven't heard before, or use some examples. And one of the things I was thinking about is when I look at all of our most successful clients, there is a level of passion meets determination meets relentless action. And those are traits that the CEO and the founder has in a very like, I take charge of my business, of my reality. And anybody I bring in to support, agency, team member, coach, is there to support and collaborate with me. But at the end of the day, I'm the leader and I'm responsible for this. And they see it as a collaborative process versus I sit back and somebody else does it for me. And when it doesn't work, I can blame them. And I think that's really important, and I said passion meets this because there's also this love and dedication to their ideal customer, to who they're serving, to the mission, to their offer, to their message, that a good marketing partnership and a relationship is going to help pull that out, collaborate with it, and amplify it. But if the founder's foundation is missing, if they stay surface level, if they stay in the like, I don't know, you tell me, I don't really care, and they don't tap into that passion and dedication to what they're here to do, it comes through in the marketing. And I don't think that anybody, an agency, a team member you hire can actually bridge that gap without that foundation. And I was thinking about this with my new company. I have done a lot of the innovation with the strategy and what we're doing in the marketing and like some ideas for the flyers we're passing out and those things. And I was working on a new concept for one last night. And I realized like my connection and passion to the customer that we're serving allows for the creativity of these things. And that's something that I think a founder has to play a part in. And when I think about our most successful clients and our VIP clients, I would describe them as very connected to who they serve and to their message, and not so lost in the tactics and the structure of marketing and the funnel and like all the mechanics that they don't have that connection. I would also describe our most successful clients as relentless and consistently in motion when it comes to action, and also accountable to their business and to their results. Of course, holding whoever they hire accountable too. Like a marketing agency and a marketing company absolutely should have KPIs, right? We have KPIs with all of our clients in terms of, especially our full done for you, cost per lead and sales conversion and profitability and ROI and ROAS on the ads. Absolutely. Should somebody be accountable for that? But at the end of the day, the CEO has to be a leader and has to be in that full accountability for their business and going, how do I deepen my connection? And the more you do that, the more you leave room for that visionary, that creativity. So I believe that your goal as a CEO should be to get the support that helps you amplify that. Like every single time I talk to a 7 and 8 figure founder, they're very creative in the ideas that they have around their marketing, around their offer, around their customer experience and delivery, around their content and their ideas. And they get support and get ideas and learn best practices maybe, but they still make it their own. So I guess the other word I'm looking for is authentic. Like true, that I think that word gets thrown around a lot, but literally if I took every single successful client that we've had, I would describe that. Like they have connection and authenticity, both to their ideal client and who they're serving, to their business and its unique blueprint that business has because of them, and therefore also to themselves. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping entrepreneurs connect back to themselves and your unique essence, like your experience, what you're naturally good at, what you're passionate about, what you believe, what you don't believe, like all of that wisdom and experience and essence within you, I truly think is the biggest needle mover to success in your business. Because the more connected you are to that, the more you can be connected to that for answers that you need, like should we do this or should we do that? The more you can be connected around creative ideas, different ways of doing things, innovation, the vision. And that is actually a big reason that I set up our offers the way I set up our offers. So in our first 2 tiers, we don't do done for you content. I don't include that as part of it. I could, and I could charge more for it. But I think that in especially those 2 tiers, those levels, the priority should actually be that the entrepreneur is practicing creating content. And it's also why we don't use it as a number 1 growth driver, because if they don't do a great job at it, it's okay. It doesn't impact the results. But I want the CEOs and the entrepreneurs to be spending their time in that space of connection, innovation, creativity, vision, and not just like floating around doing that. I do think people confuse that too, where they're like, I just want to create all day, and then there's no structure to it. But the more connected you are to that, and the more that your partnerships and relationships in business, the people you hire, the companies you hire, even a coach, if you hire a coach, can amplify that. They can't really give that to you. Now, a good coach and a good marketing company will help you pull it out. So that's something I see a lot, and that's like, I would say, a proprietary part of our process is we pull out what I call the brand identity. Like, what is that unique blueprint that only you have as an entrepreneur? And how can we amplify that? So that's the first thing. And so if you're listening to this, I want you to think about that. Like, do you feel like you hold yourself accountable to be in a space consistently of leadership for your company, of connection? And part of being connected is you have to tune out the noise, because we lose that connection with ourselves and our business and our ideal customer the more that we consume, and our attention becomes fragmented and scattered across all these different, you should do this, you should do that, ideas. And the more you can hold yourself accountable to that connection, which I think takes discipline. I think it takes you being intentional with it. It doesn't just happen. It takes you, I spend a lot of time thinking about my ideal customer in both companies and connecting to that, and then taking my unique ideas and essence and infusing that in our actions. And then the implementation, I don't do, right? All the marketing copy, all the tech, all the ads management, all of that I don't do. Even the strategy I have support with in my company, and so would a client, but I still am infusing it with that connection, with that authenticity. So that's the first thing. The second thing, if I were to line up all the clients and look at them, and I was reflecting on this in my business, is The ability to take imperfect action, and I've talked about this definitely before on the podcast, but speed, implementation, and speed to implementation, and speed to outsourcing things that they shouldn't be doing, being relentless with their time, with their energy. And it ties to the first one, because therefore then they can put themselves in the places that they need to be. That is going to grow the business. But I was thinking about this, in my company, and one thing that I do, I don't know if it's good or not. Maybe it's not going to get me to 10 million. I'll let you know. But sometimes I will set a deadline. I think it's good. Elon Musk does this, so he's been successful. I will set a deadline, or I will say something in a podcast that forces us to have to finish something, to launch something. Forces the deadline a little bit. And so I'll put something out there that it's going to be a push to get it done, but too late now. We're going to do it. And it's not so much that it's unrealistic. It's possible to hit that deadline, but it's going to be a push. But now we have no option, because the podcast releases and I said it in the podcast and we got to release it, right? And there are some times that we have to be we're releasing the podcast a little bit late because we had to, edit these things. So I don't want to sacrifice quality or sacrifice depth. But I will often do this in the company. And I think that is important, that if you want to push for something, and it shouldn't be a bunch of things at once. It really should be one main thing, one main focus. If you want to push for that you create a little urgency. Urgency and speed and action is so important in business. And I cannot emphasize enough, when I look at all these successful businesses, these 7-8-figure businesses, I want you to understand they make mistakes and they fail and they have things that don't work all the time. But if for every 10 things you try, 1 or 2 of them work, then you just need to try more things. And I think, at different stages of business, this is more relevant. If you're in the beginning stages, if you're in a time where you're pivoting and you haven't quite figured out what's next and you haven't figured out that direction, this also could be a time where you need to kind of throw spaghetti at the wall, not recklessly, not lacking intention, but as intentional and strategic as possible, while also being unattached from the outcome and knowing that you'll keep trying until it works. And then you tie speed with that. And I'm telling you, if I was in a room with people, and this happens to me, where everybody's talking about, something that is working. I think the content, when I was back visiting Cody Sanchez's headquarters, in that room I was in, it was that became a focus. And I implemented as fast as I could something that I was yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna follow through with that. And I'm going to implement it with speed. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to try a bunch of things, and I'm going to be unattached, and I'm going to get better through the process of doing. And there's so much in business that truly you cannot get to the next levels and unlock certain elements of success, revenue, sales, different levels in business, unless you are taking a bunch of action. And with my new business, I'm seeing this right now too. It's when we go on a job or we try something in our marketing, I wouldn't know if it's going to work, and I wouldn't learn those experiences that my business partner is learning right now on the job if we didn't do. We could sit and read books. We could watch YouTube videos about other cleaning companies. We could talk about it. We could plan. We could make SOPs. We could do that all day long, and it still would not teach us as much as actual hands-on experience. So the second piece to this is asking yourself, are you doing this enough? Are you moving into action enough? Are you challenging yourself to go, here's a target that I have. Here's a goal that I have. I'm going to give myself a little urgency. I'm going to give myself a little push here. And I'm going to pursue this, and I'm going to take relentless action. And then, I've talked about this before, you got to be unattached to the outcome, because if it doesn't work how you want, you got to trust that as long as you did everything you could, it was as successful as it could be. But I think oftentimes entrepreneurs really get stuck in overthinking, over planning, trying to get something so it's all put together, it's perfect. And some of the most successful people I know build the airplane while they're flying. I think it is a skill and a gift. Some people this comes easier than others, and I'm so grateful that I love doing this. I get a thrill out of doing it, but it has for sure created a lot of success. It really has. I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Like, that is, I think, at its core, such an important part of entrepreneurship. Here's the goal. Here's the vision. I have no idea how we're going to get there. I know the next few steps. I also know no matter what, we will figure it out. And then in order to figure it out, you have to take relentless action and imperfect action. And if you are in a room and everybody's talking about an idea that is great for business, if you're the person that's implementing it today, it's like by the time everybody else has planned and strategized and mapped it all out, it's like you've already tried 5 things, 3 worked, 2 didn't, you're on to the next. That is such a unlock in business success. So the 2 things are connection and, how would I summarize that last one? Relentless action. Relentless, imperfect action and speed. And when you have those 2 things, and as a founder, you are the leader of those 2 things. Like, that is where I spend a lot of my time. I spend a lot of time thinking. I spend a lot of time connecting to my ideal customer, coming up with the ideas of the new offer that we just launched, of a different way I want to do the challenge, and like my IP and my unique essence being infused in the business. And then I'm setting the standard for deadlines. I'm setting the standard for what is priority and when do I expect it done by. And you know what? When I do that, as long as everybody tried their best and pushed, I don't care if we miss the deadline. Like, there are times we're supposed to launch something on a Tuesday and it gets pushed a day. Okay. I'd rather us have pushed to try to launch it that Tuesday and have a delay in 1 day than go, what's the realistic timeline for this? 3 weeks? Like, no. And Elon Musk does this all the time. Like, when you read his book, he puts an almost impossible deadline or quota or some number up on the wall for everybody to see. And he really believes, like, you can't say you can't do it. Like, is it physically impossible? Is it physically actually impossible, or is it illegal? Okay, then we can't do it, but otherwise we can do it. And he's proved so many things wrong about speed, and he's made a ton of mistakes. Like, there have been quality issues in his cars because of that. But if you look at the upside of how slow everything would have taken otherwise, it outweighs the other side. I think you definitely can't sacrifice depth. And that's where we'll get to points where I say, okay, push it a day. We got to get this right. We got to make these edits, push it out a little bit, but at least we push to get it live. And again, that is the leadership of the founder. So you have to position your time and your resources so that is where your time and resources are going. The creativity, the connection, the leadership, the direction, you're steering the ship. And then the best thing is when you surround yourself with a team where you're like, let's jump, you guys, off the cliff and help me build the plane as we free fall. And sometimes your team's freaking out. Like, my team's going to listen to this episode. I know, you guys. But they also actually gain confidence in doing that as well, and realize that you can do that, and it will always work out. And it doesn't even have to be overwhelming and stressful. It can just be what it is. Especially when you don't have the pressure of, like, there's some, doomsday if we don't hit one deadline. Like, I'm fine. As long as we did our best and we pushed and we really squeezed the resources to the most efficient way that we possibly could, I'm good. So hopefully these 2 things gave you guys something to think about. With all this, I do want to mention, I mentioned on the last podcast, but I launched a new offer called Unignorable, and it's a 30-day live cohort. It's super affordable. It is meant to kind of be a downsell offer to all of our core live implementation offers that we have. And the goal is that in 30 days, we build out your brand blueprint. So everything that I talked about around, like, your connection, your essence, how you stand out, your message, we're going to build that out in your messaging. We're going to build that out in your content and your visibility. We're going to map out your lead generation strategy, like what the actual lead gen is, the messaging around it, the hook, how you're going to get people to download it, and then also sales. So I break it out into 4 parts. It's 4 weeks. And this will be the only time that I'm hosting it personally live. So there's 4 calls and they will be with me. So if you want to jump in on this round, embodiedmarketing.com/unignorable. The price will go up, and also I won't be always hosting it live like this. So it's a great opportunity to jump in. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned on my stories this week if you want to see behind the scenes of Embodied Marketing Live. It should be really fun. Best one yet every single time. And I'll talk to you guys next time.